Thank you, Mr. President. Let me begin by thanking Special Envoy of Secretary General for the Horn of Africa, Mr. Onanga Anyanga, and Ms. Inger Anderson, Executive Director of UNEP, for their briefings. I welcome the presence of the Honorable Foreign Ministers of Egypt and Sudan, and the Water, Irrigation and Energy Minister of Ethiopia, and the Chargé d'Affaires of the Democratic Republic of Congo in today's meeting. India is closely following the developments on the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. The river basin of Nile encompasses 11 countries in Africa, which also includes Ethiopia, Sudan, and Egypt. Therefore, there is no doubt that this is a complex transboundary water dispute involving many countries in the region, as well as several legal and technical issues. We recognize that the parties have already undertaken several initiatives to address issues arising out of construction and filling of GERD in Ethiopia. These include the establishment of an international panel of experts in 2012 to examine the dam's design and construction plans, a follow-up tripartite national committee in 2014, and the 2015 Declaration of Principles on the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. We believe that these initiatives, particularly the 2015 Agreement on Declaration of Principles, provide a good basis to continue negotiations aimed at reaching an amicable solution that protects the interest of all three countries. It goes without saying that the Nile water usage should benefit people of all countries, respecting the rights of both upper and lower riparian states. The chair of the African Union, South Africa in 2020, and the Democratic Republic of Congo in 2021 handable effort discussion along with the observers. There have been many meetings of the African Union on this issue last year. We understand from the 26 June 2020 AU communique that these tripartite negotiations have brought about agreement on 90% of the issues, though not all the issues. As a lower and upper riparian state, India is only too aware of how difficult such negotiations can be. It is important that AU continues with these efforts in good faith. We call on Ethiopia, Egypt, and Sudan to work constructively with the AU-led process with a view to resolving the outstanding issues in a purposeful manner and with the urgency it deserves. Since AU is seized of the matter, it is important that all parties engaged urgently to find a way forward. Based on our own experience, we know that transboundary water disputes should ideally be resolved through mechanisms agreed upon by the primary stakeholders and taking into account the respective rights and issues of technical details, historical usage, and socio-economic aspects. India is of the view that the countries should continue their bilateral engagements as well as cooperate fully and in a focused manner with the AU to reach a mutually acceptable long-term solution for the relevant issues. Only such a solution would endure and serve the developmental needs of upper and lower riparian regions. We also urge other interested countries to support the efforts of the AU in this regard. I thank you, Mr. President.
I thank the representative of India for his statement, and I now give the floor to the representative of Niger. Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I would like to thank SRSG Parfait Onanga and Ms. Inger Anderson, Executive Director of UNEP, for the quality of their briefings. I welcome the representative of the DRC and thank him for the message delivered on behalf of the current chair of the AU. I note with satisfaction the participation of the ministers of Egypt, Ethiopia, and Sudan in this meeting. Mr. President, this is now the second time that the Council is considering the issue of the Great Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. The GERD is an infrastructure project with immense potential, but its operationalization has regrettably become a source of misunderstanding between Egypt, Ethiopia, and Sudan for many years. Their presence here in the Council today attests to the clear will of the three neighbors to resolve this misunderstanding peacefully and amicably. Niger fully supports the ongoing negotiation process under the aegis of President Félix Antoine Tshisekedi, current chair of the African Union, and calls on the parties present to show more political will by giving the Technical Negotiating Committee of the African Union the possibility to formulate compromise proposals which they will accept in order to finalize the 10% of outstanding issues as soon as possible. It is equally important that the parties refrain from any comments and other actions that could undermine the ongoing negotiation process. There can be disagreements between brothers, but between brothers, we should be able to overcome them because peaceful coexistence is priceless. Successful examples of cooperation exist in Africa in this area. Niger, as a member of a water management mechanism, namely the Niger Basin Authority, would like to share its experience in the area of shared management of the exploitation of natural resources in the Niger Basin. Indeed, the 9 states of West and Central Africa, which make up the Niger Basin, have agreed on a strategy for the management and the rational, sustainable use of the waters of the Niger River by all states through the Niger Basin Authority, which was set up in 1980. The successful example of cooperation in the exploitation of water resources can serve as a source of inspiration for a rapid solution to the issue of the GERD in particular, and for the sustainable exploitation and management of the Nile's water resources between all riparian countries in the future. Mr. President, by way of conclusion, Niger welcomes the communiqué resulting from the virtual meeting of the heads of state and government of the Bureau of the AU Assembly held on June 24, 2021, which reaffirms the ongoing consideration of this dispute by the organization. By virtue of the principle of subsidiarity, we launch an appeal to all to prioritize a regional and African solution to the GERD issue. To this end, we remain convinced that under the auspices of the African Union, the parties will succeed in making every effort to ensure that the GERD is a source of shared development and prosperity that will contribute to strengthening solidarity and cooperation between the 3 countries. Egypt, Ethiopia, and the Sudan, Mr. President, are big, major countries with major civilizations in Africa and have contributed to the settlement of several crises on the continent. And I'm sure that they will be up to the challenge in order to overcoming this new challenge. I thank you, Madam President. I thank the representative of Niger for his statement, says the President, and I now give the floor to the representative of Mexico.
Presidente.
Thank you very much, Madam President. We thank the Special Envoy Onanga Anyanga, the Executive Director Anderson, and the representative of the Democratic Republic of the Congo on behalf of the Chair of the African Union for their briefings. We also welcome the Foreign Affairs Ministers of Egypt and Sudan and the Minister of Water, Irrigation and Energy of Ethiopia. Mexico has closely followed the tripartite negotiations between Egypt, Ethiopia and Sudan on the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, the GERD. We recognize the importance of the Nile for the livelihoods and well-being of the 3 countries, and we therefore understand that this question can be seen through various prisms: political, technical, development and security, and we must be receptive to all of these. We regret the fact that despite the good offices of the leadership of the African Union, there is still no notable progress in this process. It is of concern that the dispute could exacerbate tensions in the region and in the relationships between the 3 countries, which are so significant not only for the Horn of Africa, but for the whole continent. Madam President, we have noted the positions expressed by the 3 countries in various letters sent to the Security Council. Whilst the Council must be attentive to any matter which has the potential to convert into a threat to international peace and security, in this case there must be a constant attempt at prevention in line with Chapter 6 of the Charter of the United Nations. Mexico's position regarding international disputes, particularly those which affect a number of countries simultaneously, has always been to promote, above all, a peaceful and mutually acceptable solution for all the parties, based upon dialogue. Moreover, as this is a question which affects 3 African countries and based on Chapter 8 of the Charter, we deem it to be of particular importance for the international community to back the efforts of the African Union to bring positions closer together and resume negotiation, taking into account the proven ability of this regional organisation to seek African solutions to problems which affect that continent. We call upon the parties to continue with dialogue in good faith and to move towards an agreement on the filling and operation of the dam, so that within a reasonable time a solution can be reached which is satisfactory and beneficial for the 3 countries and for the whole region. Mexico supports the regional mediation and all actions aimed at political dialogue and technical understandings. In this regard, the continued involvement of the African Union is welcome and very necessary. Mexico urges all the parties to abstain from any actions which could jeopardize the negotiations or undermine the necessary goodwill to reach an agreement. Moreover, any actions of dissuasion or pressure must be avoided, so as to prevent any unnecessary escalation in tension. Madam President, just as the representative of Niger has just been saying, Mexico has a long history of shared administration of cross-border water resources, both on our northern and southern borders. We are therefore very aware of the great relevance and complexity which come with managing a resource so vital as water. One example is the International Boundary and Water Commission, established by Mexico and the United States since 1889. Mexico has also established a similar mechanism with Belize and Guatemala. These institutions are devoted to implementing treaties on boundaries and waters between our neighbouring nations and have allowed for the construction, operation and maintenance of relevant infrastructure for the management of cross-border rivers. Perhaps these could serve as a template, with the necessary adaptations to this situation, to the future rounds of negotiation between Egypt, Ethiopia and Sudan. We are more than willing to offer further details on these arrangements if the parties consider this useful. But even with agreements of this kind, we must be aware that the management of water resources is never immune from disputes. The crucial thing in this case is to have a shared reference framework and the appropriate mechanisms to address disputes and avoid any escalation from a technical level to a political one. Finally, Madam President, I underscore the fact that my country will continue to follow developments on the ground, and we will always seek, here and in other fora, to support a peaceful, negotiated solution, as well as any efforts at preventative diplomacy. Thank you very much.
I thank the representative of Mexico, and I now give the floor to the representative of Vietnam.
Thank you, Madam President. I would like to begin by warmly welcome His Excellency Minister of Foreign Affairs of Egypt, Sudan, and Minister of Irrigation, Water, Electricity of Ethiopia to our meeting today. I welcome Chargé d'Affaires of Democratic Republic of the Congo on behalf of the chairperson of the African Union to this meeting. I'd like to thank HISG for the Horn of Africa and the Director General of the UNEP for their insightful briefing. President, water resources play a critical role in supporting the livelihood of billions of people on Earth and the countless ecosystem. Sustainable and equitable use of water resources is therefore vital to secure peace, security, and economic development, as well as the protection of the nature. Therefore, we are concerned about the tendency that many international watercourses have been increasingly utilized in a manner that not ensure the legitimate right and interests of riparian countries, especially downstream countries. The adverse effect of this tendency, compounded by those of climate change, have posed significant challenges to security, stability, and development of many regions, including in Africa, where the lives of millions of people depend on shared rivers. We believe that the use of water resources for development purposes is a legitimate right of any concerned party, be it water surplus or water deficit country. We also believe in the best practices on transboundary watercourses, including the adequate exchange of views, consultation, and full implementation of legal frameworks among concerned stakeholders to address outstanding issues. Furthermore, the utilizations of international watercourses must be in line with the international law and commitment of concerned parties, on the basis of harmonizing the interests of riparian state, upstream and downstreams, to ensure the sustainable use and equitable share of water resources. We would like to emphasize the importance of fostering further codifications and development of international law regarding the sustainable use of transboundary water courses, including through the implementation of United Nations Convention on the Law of Non-Navigational Uses of International Water Courses. President, as to the Blue Nile River, we take note of the position of the relevant parties, including those as elaborated in the letters addressed to the President of Security Council recently. We support the efforts of the party directly concerned to promote sustainable and equitable utilization of water resources, including through the cooperation, consultation, and negotiation on the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam GERD project. It is our wish that all parties concerned build upon achieved results and fully implement the 2015 agreement on the declaration of principle of the project. We take note of the effort by all sides over the last year in their negotiation. And given the ongoing fragile situation in the region, it is, however, important that the related party uphold the principle of settling disputes through peaceful means, continue their dialogue and meaningful negotiation, take into account the view and legitimate interests of each other in the spirit of neighborly brotherhood and good faith, as well as in accordance with the international law and 2015 agreement. Mr. President, as having stated time and again here, we always support the important role of the African Union in upholding its responsibility and promoting negotiation and mediation on the issue of its region, as shown over the last year on the GERD issues. Given the continued statement, we are of the view that it is high time that the AU accelerates its efforts in assisting the three countries to resolve the remaining issues, including legal and technical questions. And in this connection, all parties should refrain from any measures that might escalate tension and undermine the opportunity to achieve a negotiated solution to the issues. Thank you, Mr. President.
Je remercie.
I thank the representative of Vietnam for his statement, and I now give the floor to the representative of China.